Hello YouTubies, this is Freddy Hotez and thank you for watching this amazing, most bodacious and incredible YouTube video. Now I want to talk about ambidextrous. There's people out there who can equally write just as well with the left and right hand. Now I find this all kind of amazing that most people find it so difficult to do that, considering the fact that our brain is actually able to eventually use both hands equally well if you train it to. People talk about left-handedness and right-handedness, and the only thing I can find on the internet by the official groups, the media, is that anybody who is going against the status quo, which is the right-handedness, have problems. They don't live as long. They have mental issues, but they might be artistically creative, but they don't have the ability to do other things. They have diseases, etc. In fact, being left-handed is a disease. And this is what you see on these websites. Check them out. I'll put the links down below. Almost every site is very negative about somebody going against the status quo. And I've got an idea why this actually is. If you look at throughout school, they teach you how to use one or the other, but they're very strict. In the past, they would force people who would, let's say, naturally. I don't really like the word naturally, but let's say people want to write with the left hand. They would force them to write with the right hand. And for those who keep on swapping around, they would force them to use just one hand. The reason why is for uniformity. They wanted people to do exactly the same as each other, so they have it in a sort of orderly fashion within the school system. And what this did is it overtrained one of the hands to do things. For instance, when you're picking up a glass of whatever, it doesn't matter which one I'm using. I can use either one just as well to do it. But with writing, because one will be trained more in the school system, one becomes more dominant with that. But with practice, and with the fact that you've probably had thousands upon thousands of hours of practice in school systems writing with one hand or the other, one hand will be dominant in the relationship to writing, of course. But with practice, the other hand starts to catch up. If you put 1,000 hours training the left hand and you're right-handed, you will find that within time you're able to write with the left hand. Now, is that because you've got left and right brain dominance sort of naturally? No, it just means that the school system has trained one hand or the other. And I have my suspicions on why this actually is, because it appears that people, who are left brain dominant, so to speak, tend to be more easily led, but they also tend to absorb information quite easily as well. But they don't really tend to use critical thinking as much. They don't question authority so much, whereas left-handed people tend to do that. But people who are ambidextrous are completely different animals altogether. They've trained both sides of their body to be equal, so to speak. They've done as the best they can. Now, of course, one of them will be either very slightly better, but that doesn't actually mean anything, so to speak, because you will find that if you train both sides, I mean, for instance, I found this out when I was in my late teens. I was playing tennis. I was just doing it against the wall at the time. And I thought, well, actually, my right side's getting a bit tired. I think I'll use my left hand. And I found that my left hand was still able to hit the ball, was still able to move, but it had a bit of stumbling motion. It was having problems to do it like the right-handed. But I noticed throughout practice, and I practiced it for like 20 odd hours, that eventually the left hand suddenly became better than the right hand. And also with weightlifting, I also noticed that the left hand became stronger than the right hand, even though I was trained to be right-handed, right? And I suddenly remembered something in school. I was trying to practice writing with both hands because I noticed, oh, I can do this. And both of them were just as bad as each other when I was in school. But the teacher said use one hand or the other, the dominant. So I don't know which bloody hand's dominant. And they say, well, one of them is. Just choose your right like everybody else. Okay, well, choose me right. And that's how it starts, because you then practice throughout primary school, to school itself, to college, to university for 20 odd years, practicing writing with just one fucking hand. No wonder the other hand becomes so fucking imbalanced. So why is it that people believe in this system? Why is it they don't actually question it? Why don't they think, well, actually, in some ways, I'm kind of unbalanced there, because I was born with a left fucking hand and I was born with a right fucking hand. All right? Both of them should be able to do things equally well. In fact, if I want to pick something up like a watch, I want to use the hand that's fucking closest to do it. If I want to open the door with the keys, I want to use the hand that's closest to the fucking door to do it. That way, I'm more balanced. I'm not reaching over here to grab something. I can use, oh, look, I've actually got a fucking left hand there to do it. So why not use that fucking hand to pick something up that's closest? The reason why people don't do this is because they're trained that, oh, you can't use your left hand. In fact, your left hand is disabled. Why don't you fucking know, chop it off? Right? Why don't you chop the hand that has no use to you? Because obviously most of you can't fucking use it, right? If one hand is so dominant that you can't even use the other hand to pick up a glass of fucking cherryade to drink, that proves that society as a whole has been dumbed down. Because if you aren't using both hands and you are trying to train yourself to actually become more stable in that way, you're unbalanced. And I have a feeling that everybody in the world, almost everybody, is unbalanced. I think we're all unbalanced, and there's got to be a reason for that, to create people who are unbalanced. I also notice the people in charge tend to be more ambidextrous, right? Which is also fucking a little bit interesting. Some of the past presidents could use both hands equally well to write. Isn't that fucking interesting? So we've got to question things like this. Why hasn't anybody in the alternative community questioned it? Why hasn't anybody who, studies human anatomy questioned it? Why hasn't anybody anywhere really questioned this? And why are they so hell-bent on making it look so fucking bad? That's one thing I don't understand. Why is it so bad to be able to use your left and right hand equally well? Of course, if you can use both hands and your legs equally well to do things, you are far more balanced than most of the population in the world. In fact, you can play football better because you can use either side of the legs to kick the ball. Choose whatever is closest, you choose that leg to kick the ball. So you're going to be better at sports. And it is another thing, right? When you actually balance yourself, notice when you start running, for instance, using both sides of the body. Your body doesn't say, oh, hang on, I can't use the left leg. I'm right-handed. I'm right-legged. You can't walk with the left leg. It doesn't do that because you've trained the leg to be more balanced. Another thing is, most of us can pick things up with the left or right-handed. And we don't really think about it so much because it doesn't feel too alien to us. But when we start writing or doing something delicate, so to speak, things tend to feel a little bit off. But if you put the practice in, you'll find that eventually you will almost balance it out. In fact, you might get very close to actually making one hand even better than the other. That wasn't originally. So I state there now that the human condition is unbalanced, and it starts in school. And there's a specific reason for this. It's called uniformity. They want people to be like zombies, to follow each other, to actually copy each other. And they want to shut down the part of the brain that has creativity. And if somebody is creative, They want to shut down the part of the brain that deals with logic, so you can't connect both of the dots. They get it right. If you have both logic and creativity, now you're a reckoning force for society. You can actually make a difference. In fact, think of the people who have been both left-handed and right-handed. Think of the people in sports. We've got people like Bruce Lee, right? Just think how good these people actually are. You know, the ability to use both sides of the body equally well. You have a force to be fucking reckoned with. And of course, the people in charge don't want people like that. So I state that there is no such thing as left-handed or right-handed. You're born with two fucking hands. Use them. Use both fucking hands. Don't make it feel like it's so fucking alien. It isn't. You can use your left, you can use your right, and you can use your fucking left just as well as anybody else. I don't want to slam this fucking down, but I will do if I get too fucking annoyed in this video. Because people act like fucking sheep. They follow each other. I'm stating here, just train yourself to be equally well with both sides of your body, right? Because people have become unbalanced by the school system. There's a good reason for this, but within time we can correct it. We need to train both sides of our body. So, you know, I'm seeing things on the internet at the moment stating that, you know, these sob stories where people create it, say, oh, it damages people to train both sides. No, it doesn't. It actually makes them better. It improves them. It makes them a stronger version of themselves. And it isn't fucking child abuse, is what these people say. They come up with all these fucking excuses. How is it child abuse or abuse of me if I want to train myself to be both left and right fucking handed, to be ambidextrous, which we all have an innate ability to actually do? How is that abuse? Yeah? How is that going to make a person's life worse? In fact, it's going to enrich your life because you're going to be able to do things that most people can't fucking do. And you're suddenly going to rebalance your body so you can use both sides equally well. And that is what we need in society, people who think with their brain. Why hasn't this been mentioned in the alternative community? Why has nobody mentioned it at all? And why is it the only people who seem to mention it are the people in the media who have a problem? They want to make out that it's bad. It's not bad to be somebody who's against the status quo because they know that people can use both sides, become renegades. They actually go against society in some ways because they're stating, I want to do something different. I want to actually improve myself. And they're scared of fucking death of people who are actually doing that. You people out there were born with two hands. You were born with two legs. When you actually do something you don't think about, like walking, like swimming as well, when you're using both hands, you find that both hands don't just gel with each other. They find it very easy. It's only when you start doing things like writing or some really artistic thing that you find one of the hands tends to dominate. But the only reason why it dominates is because of the thousands upon thousands of hours in the school system that has trained the hand to do so. You've actually built up a skill with one hand. Now you've got to rebalance it. And that's where I'm coming from. You need to learn how to balance yourself. And this has never been mentioned. It's never been mentioned, but yet I think it's very important. Anyway, thank you for watching. Goodbye for now. I'd love to know what other people think about this because I think it's a topic that needs to be covered, and it hasn't.